All right, so now we're going to talk about what makes a relation a function. So to remember, first use the definition of function, which is for every input there's exactly one output. That's at least my definition of function. There's probably a more sophisticated way of saying it, but what it comes down to is for each of your input values, you should only have one output value. So when we're looking at these mappings, when I look at this first one, each of these x values, these input values, only have one output value, one y value. So this is, great, this is a function. Whereas when we come over here to this other one, my 1 is mapping to both -1 and 1. So my input does not have exactly one output. It has two outputs. And so in this case, this is not a function. So to recap, function is when each input or x value has exactly one output value. Another way I think about it is x cannot cheat on y. But there's a double standard, y can cheat on x. It's just x cannot cheat on y. All right, so moving to our next example, which relations are functions? Use a mapping diagram to explain your reasoning. So what it's wanting us to do is to first map it out. So my x values are 0, 1, 2, and 3. And my y values are 1, 4, 5, and 7. And then I'm going to go from 0 to 1, and from 1 to 4, 2 to 5, and 3 to 7. And of course this is, that one's a boring mapping. I don't have to go any diagonals or anything. But then the next question is this a function? And the answer is yes. Function. I guess I didn't say yes or no to the function, but which is a function? This one is a function because for each x value there's exactly one y value. So now we're going to come over to b, where we have x values -2, -1, 0, and 1. And all of them have a y value of 0. And then from here, -2 would map to 0, -1 will map to 0, 0 will map to 0, and 1 will map to 0. Now this is where it gets tricky. Remember, each x value has to have exactly one y value. And the answer is the fact that each of these x values has exactly one y value. The x does not repeat, it's the y that repeats. So this is also a function. And it's because for every input there's exactly one output. It just happens to be that the output is the same for all of them, but they each have their own they each have one output, not multiple outputs. So that was example 2. All right, so now we're going to look at tables. And you can, the thought process with tables is the same as the thought process if you're just looking at points instead of drawing a mapping. But we're asking, is each relation a function? And then we've got this lovely word, explain. All right, so we're looking at this first one. And remember that in a table, we list our points as x, y. And so for it to be a function, I should only have my x listed once. And so right here, right off the bat, we have 1 in here twice, which means that 1 is with the 3 and 1 is with the 2. And so this first one is not a function. And it's because the 1 repeats. Or we have 1, 3 and 1, 2. So we have 2 points with the input being 1. So for our input does not have exactly one output. That's another way to write it. All right, so now we look at B. We have -3, -2, -1, 0. I do look at my outputs and they're all the same, but that would be like that last one. I just need to focus, are my X values cheating on my Y values? And in this case, they are not. And so this is a function because each X value has only one Y value. All right, and so now I'm going to look at this next one. Input is 0, 1, 2, 3. Output is 12, 14, 16, 18. And honestly, when we're looking at functions, the output doesn't matter as long as the input's not repeating. And so this one, there is no repeat input, so this one is a function. And again, it's because each X value has only one Y value. Now, if you were getting to turn in actual assignments to me and you were to write because X is not cheating on Y, I'm okay with that because I totally understand what you're talking about. Just keep in mind not all math teachers are going to understand what it means by X cheating on Y. All right, so our next slide I'm going to put into our last video. We're going to start with the vertical line test. I will see you there.